Welcome to episode 11 of the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. I'm your host, Tony Suriano, and today we talk about film scoring, connection, and perspective.
This podcast will talk you through the ups and downs in the entertainment industry.
Each and every one of you has a talent, but it's a tough business. People gonna tell you, get a real job.
By introducing you to sustainable, moldable methods in a crazy, cutthroat world.
Let us harness our willpower and take real action.
Don't let it get you down.
Join me, brothers and sisters, on a journey through trials and tribulations.
Unfake it till you make it.
Thank you for joining. Today's interview is with Jake Staley. He is a professional composer, music producer, and drummer. You've heard his work in network TV shows, films, video games, and commercials. Most recently, he did the score for CW's military drama, Valor. But I would say Jake is best known for his annual cookie and booze parties in downtown LA. Every year, I keep missing them, but last year I had the opportunity and honor to finally attend it. It was amazing. Now, I don't drink alcohol much, but cookies, on the other hand, get me crunk. Now, I remember when I first heard that word crunk, I never got a good answer to what it really is, what it meant, and I'll be damned if I ever did find out. You guys should tell me what it is. Tangent complete. Disclaimer, my side of the audio during the episode may sound a bit lower in quality. It's kind of a lot in quality, lower. Sorry about that. There was some technical difficulties that I will learn from for next time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the insights with Mr. Jake Staley. I have many questions for you, sir.
I hopefully have many answers.
Good. First question, in a few words, what are your key principles for your expertise?
Key principles for my expertise. Well, I think the most important thing that I've realized is obviously making music for a living and to picture and all these things require equipment and they require skills and all this stuff. I would say more than anything else, it requires the ability to read situations, understand people, and manage time. It's about 40% music, 60% time management, politics, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I guess self-awareness, it really is what I've discovered to be the best way to succeed with what I'm doing.
That's good. I feel like that's probably in every aspect of any industry.
Absolutely.
But it seems maybe more apparent in, let's say, the entertainment industry. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think self-awareness is something that everyone should aspire, to have in anything you do. I just lately have been thinking about that so much, and I try to make an effort to, think about what I'm doing before I do it.
Yes.
So in a time where I feel like that is not happening as much, generally speaking, very reactionary.
Yeah.
So
I agree, definitely. I love that. What are you currently working on in the music industry?
Well, I just finished a TV pilot. It was actually a speculative pilot, though. So, speculative meaning it wasn't commissioned by a specific network or something, which I wouldn't typically do. But a friend of mine was involved and some new relationships, and I wasn't super busy at the time. So, and it was going to be really fun. I just got to play drums a lot on it, which was fun. So I just finished that. This is a kind of weird time in the TV world for film and TV music, just because a lot of pilots are finishing up, and then for the fall season when the actual TV season really starts. So not much right now. Besides that, it's pretty chill. Just working out a lot.
Yeah? Nice. What kind of working out are you doing?
running, strength training, push-ups, planks. I'm just like, it's really filling in the gaps of my life right now. So I'm waking up and working out, and every time, even when I am working, I'm just like stopping for a minute and doing something.
One-handed push-ups on the side.
Yeah,
and
well,
just go back to the guitar.
Not all of us like you, Tony, can do one-handed push-ups. I'm still two-handed, but I'm working towards the one finger.
Hell yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That's
I just watched Bruce Lee.
ridiculous.
He does the two fingers.
It's
two
absurd.
fingers.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
crazy.
Well, given how important my fingers are to me, you're not going to see me doing any one or two finger push-ups.
Pretty smart. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. So, high risk.
My goal is seriously the one-handed pull-up. If I get that, I'm done.
I kid you not.
Crazy.
Literally 10 minutes before you walked into this door, I ordered like a kind of pull-up dips kind of thing that I'm going to put in my room from Amazon. Like 10 minutes before you walked in. So, because I really want to get into the pull-ups, chin-ups. The one arm, that's just,
It's interesting. You have to be able to do about 15 real pull-ups where you keep your back activated when you go hang and when you pull up. And if you can do 15 of those, you can start working at the one-handed. And there's so many interesting techniques and different micro muscles that you need. So, I can't do 15 real pull-ups yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. I'll be amazed. And I want to see that, please.
Okay, when I get a one-handed pull-up, can you agree to...
I could actually score.
Can you score my life?
I could score the moment where you're talking about it setting up, and then we actually get you up there, and then the kind of Rocky moment maybe.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. That's
That'd
if
be
you
cool.
succeed. Otherwise, it's gonna be womp womp womp.
So you'll score no matter what.
Yeah.
And we'll just do it. It'll be like a 45-second video. We'll do it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I hope it doesn't take you 2 hours to do the one arm push up.
Okay. No. Pull up.
Pull up. Oh yeah. Right.
I could do that already.
Yeah. Okay. Good for you.
Okay. Look. When people. Okay. Look, Jake. Listen here.
Yeah.
Breaking into the music industry. How does that go? What are the challenges? And can you talk about your approach, how you broke in?
Yeah. So I went to music school in Boston. I kind of knew I wanted to move to LA and all of that. So after that happened, I just went to LA without any real prospects. I had an internship when I was in high school for a Malibu-based composer. But, when I came out here, I knew I just wanted to score stuff to picture, commercials, all that stuff. So I knew kind of how to do it, or at least I thought I did. And I didn't really know where to start. But finding, I'm a pretty social guy, went out, just met people. And that kind of landed me a thing where I met a guy who was, he had clients and was an agent for composers, and he needed a guy. And then all of a sudden, within 6 months of being in LA, just by meeting people, my first kind of opportunity came, which ended up being a long-term, 4.5 year assistant work for another composer. So that's kind of how I actually really got in, because then, you're learning all these things. You think you know everything. You don't really know anything. And writing good music is a small percentage of that, aspect of, learning how to score a scene, all those things. He taught me how to do that stuff in a different way. So the challenges, I would say the biggest challenge is finding people who will let you score their stuff. I mean, no one, it's a chicken and egg thing.
You can't just apply for that.
Yeah, well, you can. I mean, but if you're applying, no one takes you seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I say chicken and egg, I mean it's look, no one wants to hire you if you don't have any credits, and you're never going to get any credits if no one wants to hire you. So you literally are stuck in this limbo of okay, I've got these skills, I think I'm pretty good at this, and whatever, and you just need an opportunity. So the challenges are getting the opportunities, getting in the door. Yeah, I mean, I've always been pretty good at selling myself. So I'm if I can get in the room, I can get it, right? getting in the room is the hardest part. So like, I think the most important thing is to get out there, you know, and just meet people and just be aggressive in your grind, not with the job, but like making those connections.
So for people that's a little more difficult, or they think it's difficult, maybe they're a little more introverted.
Yeah.
Any ideas, or how did you do that? Like, it's funny. It's usually we don't really talk about how I went out and forcefully put myself out there to try to walk over to the room and talk to that person because I heard something good about them.
Right.
Like, what was it back in the beginning?
Well,
was it easy? You said it was kind of easy for you.
No, because I wasn't. I'll tell you what. I wasn't going into it thinking, oh my God, I need a job. Oh my God, I need a job. Who are these people I'm talking to? Like, I was at a party and like I just was having fun. And in talking to people are like, hey, you know, like we could be friends. And if you're in Los Angeles, chances are whoever you're talking to, there's a decent chance if they can't help you or have a connection in some way, they know someone who can. So like, I guess, you know, I just naturally didn't overthink it. And I was just like, I'm going to go just live the life I want to live. And, you know, not like I'm just leaving it up to just hope.
Yeah.
It's like,
you wanted to surround yourself with cool people, have fun.
Right.
People
you know, one of my strengths was to just get out there and to just like make friends and just be like, look, you know, basically like, because eventually people don't really care how good you are. They assume you're good out here. It's the competition's insane. So like everyone assumes you're good. You got to be good. But like the other thing is like people want to work with you. You know what I mean? So like it's hard for me to say, you know, I am obviously a little more extroverted than probably maybe average person, but and a lot of musicians and artists are super introverted. And I think that's one of the biggest barriers, you know, to getting in, because they just want to sit at home and make music, which is great because there's so many amazing people out there like that. I just think you're making an already hard thing harder by doing that. And I mean, whatever, personalities are personalities, but that was my approach because it worked for me. I think knowing your strengths and weaknesses is a big one too, you know, just that was a strength I needed to exploit, you know?
That sounds good. Yeah. I know for me, definitely am guilty of like kind of hiding and working on my craft for years and just, I don't know, not going out, not pushing myself into like a whatever somewhat uncomfortable situation, just to put myself out there.
You know? Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame you.
Work
I mean,
well for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't, and it's not to say like I don't have insecurities or I'm just like busting indoors and I'm like, hey, I'm Jake, hire me. Like, you know, it's like I get that. And working on the craft, I mean, my craft has, you know, I've made other sacrifices too. You know what I mean? Like, should I be putting in more time on certain things? Of course, you know, and you sacrifice those things when you are like going another route, when you're just trying to get out there and make connections. But like, I don't know, like everything, there's a balance, and finding that balance, I think, is always the hardest part, and it's lifelong.
Yeah, everything is lifelong.
Yeah.
Right? If you think about that, then you're doing well. Always working at something.
Right, exactly.
What type of person, I know we just talked about introvert and extrovert, but maybe beyond that, maybe mindset, what type of person is a good fit for the industry?
You know, I don't think there is just a good fit for the industry. I think you see throughout the industry, you see people who are introverted, extroverted. You see people who are, I just think there's a lot of pairings that happen. You know what I mean? People that are that way tend to find and work with people that are similar to them. And I think, so the industry is super diverse. You know what I mean? Like, all actors are not created equal. You know, you're not just like a beautiful ripped guy and you have one set of skills. Like, there, you know, every kind of thing calls for a different set of skills. And so I don't know. It's really kind of an impossible question to answer. I mean, I do think just that by being confident. Confidence, I think, is one of the most important things for the industry. And whether you believe in yourself or not, projecting confidence to people, they just tend to just be like, I don't know, that guy seems like he knows what he's doing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where it's like, people are like, hey, wait, like, can you do this? Like, whatever. And I snap yes. But I'm thinking, like,
you'll figure it out
after.
after.
I can't fucking do that. I mean, and then you go home and you're just like, okay, like, do I need to call someone who does know how to do that? Do I need to just, like, outsource this? Do I need to figure out, like, how long do I have? And, like, those are the things where it's uncomfortable and you learn, and then you're also expanding your repertoire, too, which is key. You know what I mean? Like, we're not all lucky to just be handed shows and to be like A-list actors and this. Like, you have to diversify, which I've been trying to do over the past 10 years. So,
yeah. I was just thinking about confidence.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be what maybe comes to mind right away. It could be, I am confident at my guitar playing.
Right.
And just channel that when you're out there, and people pick up on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I'm confident in selling that idea and talking to the person.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think confidence comes in a lot of different ways. I mean, yeah, your basic confidence of, like, chest up, like, look at me confidence versus, like, being confident in yourself and your craft and all of that, whether you don't appear confident too, I think is super important. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think people just tend to feel things from other people, you know what I mean, when they talk to you, when they see you. Yeah, and I mean, and what happens, in my opinion, what happens is, like, they're seeing you and they're trying to kind of figure out, like, what they do in those situations or how you make them feel about themselves, you know what I mean? And that right there sometimes is the key, is to make them feel better about themselves too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes that's a way in, not in any kind of manipulative way.
Truly, just like in the friend way, in a honest friend way.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, listening. I mean, that kind of goes back to self-awareness. It's like, if you're always trying to be self-aware and listening and just, like, there, you can, you see those moments when you need to project that confidence, when you don't. Like, when you need to be like, hey, like, is everything all right? Or is, like, whatever. Yeah. Like that,
They work hand in hand, for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's talk creative.
Yeah.
What do you do that gets you the most desired results? Let's say whether you're composing or brainstorming. Like, have you noticed or have you ever broke that down? Like, when I do this and this and this,
yeah,
like, my results are so much better.
Yeah, that's interesting. I tend to... Everyone has a different process. My process is very much hands-on. Like, I like to dig in. Like, some people will, like, write things on a piano and then they, like, are thinking about the instrument's going to be in there. And typically I like to start, like, more specific on a specific instrument or, like, a synthesizer or whatever. I find, like, having a cool sound or just something, that's how I tend to, like, that's what gets me in the zone. So I'll dig through sounds and different instruments and just start playing stuff, and that's usually what gets me kind of, inspired to then build around it, instead of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I write tons of things on the piano that turn into orchestral stuff or whatever, but I don't know, like, I would rather, like, pull out a violin sound and, like, you know what I mean, than, like, a piano that I know is going to be a violin. Mm-hmm. So, like, for me, that gets me in the creative space. And but it's funny, the process is always different every time, honestly. I mean, like, it's, I can't control it, it's,
I love that.
Yeah.
I once was working on this little, I do music, but more of a hobby, and right. I was working on kind of this idea because for so long I would write songs the guitar and then build around that, you know. And then I noticed, oh, they all have that similar, they all fit kind of together. Then I was like, let me start writing on this instrument, and for every song for like a small little album, and then they became like a set, but it was so different. And there was still a little guitar, but I added guitar last. I was like, if I add guitar, I'm gonna add it last. And it's cool what something always comes out different if you make those decisions.
Yeah,
you know? It's decisions.
I mean, well, being a drummer first, I'm always thinking about the beat first. So you know what I mean? So, and it is different. If I'm going in to write a cue or a song or something, and I'm starting it around the beat, it's always different than if I start it with a melodic instrument. And I think that's just, the nature of
so
the
cool.
instruments themselves
I love that.
shape, how you write. And totally. And I just love like beating on things like the drums and percussive instruments. Like I love starting there because which is, I think, the opposite for a lot of people who aren't drummers. Drums are the last thing to go on everything. Typically, like when they're writing, for people that I know, I mean that aren't drummers, I'm saying. And I just couldn't, I'm always like kind of opposite there, I guess. So.
Yes. Hell yes.
Hell yes.
God, so I just walked into Jake's, one of his studio rooms, right? What's that one called?
It's like the control room and the live room.
Okay.
One's a little more isolated and soundproof. The other's kind of the command center, if you will.
It's basically his 2 rooms are part of my dream, and he has this amazing drum called the pan drum. A hand pan. Hand pan, and it's
right.
it's like you use your hand. Explain it, could you?
Yeah, it's basically like this steel. I'm trying to.
Flying saucer.
That's actually a great way of describing it. It's like a flying saucer made of metal that has pitches like hand hammered onto them, and it has this kind of soft, almost steel drummy sound to it. You play it with your hands and fingers, and it's pretty cool.
It's magical and beautiful, and I was just telling him I really want to have that a goal for one of my instruments in the future.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Okay, we talked a little bit about how process is different for each approach, and if you start here, you will end up here. But do you have any routines before you get into that mode or after? Like, let's say you finally finish that piece you're working on. Do you give yourself a routine after or before?
Well,
whether that could be you doing 5 jumping jacks before you hit the drums, like anything interesting or weird.
Yeah, it really depends because when I'm on a gig that is like, let's say just for example, TV. Let's say it's a TV show. Unfortunately, TV is not always the most super creative process because it's so fast and everything is so mapped out ahead of time. So like when I'm in those situations, the routine is get it done as fast as possible. There's no, there isn't a lot of downtime. But for other things, I mean, I do like doing push-ups in between when I'm working. I mean, that's kind of, I try to always, before I sit down in the chair, just, some push-ups, man. That's a new development for
That's
me,
cool. I know. And then throughout the day, you're like, whoa, I probably did like 50 push-ups just without thinking.
200.
Okay, yeah, if you keep doing it.
Come on, gosh, come on, 50. No, just kidding.
But that's great. It's cool. That's like that idea of having a pull-up bar in your doorway, and like every time you pass it, maybe just do a pull-up.
Exactly.
Just kind of keep that
right.
mindset.
Well, you see the yoga mat over there.
Yes,
it's out. Yeah. Not because I'm doing yoga, but because I'm,
yeah,
push-ups, the hands
mindfulness.
on it. Yeah,
it's right there.
And it's just, it keeps me honest.
I love that.
I mean, so
yeah.
Hmm.
What does the word creative mean to you?
Wow, what a question. Well, I have such a skewed view of creative because a lot of times I feel like I'm not allowed to be creative in what I do. you always find a way to make it creative, but just like I said before, with the deadlines and the kind of manufactured aspect that TV can be like, it's really hard. But I would say, like, truly creative to me, it's like this kind of like no boundaries, just feeling, like just a feeling of expression. I mean, really, because you can be creative in anything, and whether you're playing something or whether you're just thinking, So I don't know. I just it's freedom. I don't know. That's
great.
Freedom.
I love that.
Freedom.
You
knew Braveheart was coming in. Yeah, of course.
Oh man, I love that movie.
Well,
Braveheart.
And he directed it too.
That's right.
It's pretty. I mean, yeah,
I need to rewatch that.
Oh,
it's been so many years. Wow.
It's awesome.
Okay, so I want you to walk us through how you get creative. I know there isn't one set way, but typical. For instance, if I'm writing a script,
yeah,
like what I really like to do is I turn on, I like settle myself in my desk, and I'll have like my tea to my left, I'll turn on Spotify, and I'll turn on some droning type music, and I'll put it on repeat and just like have a repeat, and I'll have it on seamless crossfading on Spotify.
Right.
So I don't even know that when it stops, when it starts.
Right.
That's just one of my things. And then there's a couple other things. But do you have something when you're going to get into it, and it's maybe not so sped up and maybe not so time turnaround TV like?
Right.
Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I sit down and I like think at like my rig, we'll call it, like at the keyboard, on the computer, and usually I'm just like thinking about what I want, if it's like a to picture kind of thing, thinking about the narrative or thinking about how you can tie things into characters, this and that, and I found, and I didn't used to do that. I used to just jump in and just start playing and tinkering, and now I found that I've saved a lot of time and energy by just thinking before I touch anything. Just just make a conscious effort to stop, like no noise, and just actually think about what I'm about to do instead of just do it, which seems counterproductive to the creative spirit, but I don't know. It's helped me. So that is definitely something now, I'm trying to make a conscious effort to do. But I, like routine, stuff like that. I mean, like if I'm working, there's definitely coffee. Like most creative psychopaths. It's to help. I mean, like I'm not trying to like jump out of bed, drink coffee, and just be ready to conquer the world. I like to get up early because I do have a morning routine unrelated to work that's not creative. Like I like to just get up, coffee, a lot of water, liter of water right out of the gate. Just really gets things going. And then work out immediately. I mean, like, yeah, I would say like within 45 minutes from when I'm awake, which is a nice little buffer there. And then work out a lot.
What do you do before you work out? Okay, you drink coffee, drink the water. Is there something else in between that where you use the bathroom, wash your face or something?
Well, of course,
anything in between?
Brush your teeth, wash your face,
Anything in between that and it's working out that you...
I do listen to a lot of NPR, the news, and I watch SportsCenter. I love sports. So or if I'm listening to like an Audible audiobook, that has really also bridged the gap for me with just like filling in the gaps of life. Like when I get up, I like to just have something on. So if it's SportsCenter, if it's NPR, the morning news, if it's an audiobook, I'll just hit play and like while I'm doing my morning routine, you know what I mean? Brush my teeth, and I'll have it on, transition it into the car. I'll get to the gym and just continue to play it right there. And, and so that's like 6:30 to about 9:30. That's like my morning. That's before I touch any instrument, before I touch anything. If I'm on a crazy show and I have to crank out 5 minutes of music that day to picture, I'm going to cut that in half just so I can start work. I need to be like in the chair at 8 sometimes I'll get up earlier. I mean, when I was on this CW show, like I was getting up at 5:30 because I had to, but I also wanted to get that routine in. I didn't want to just work, because then you're naturally tired when you're done. You're not just cracked out. You can get to bed at 9 or 10 and then do it again. So that's important to me.
Yeah, definitely. You just it's so funny how that resonated. There's two things that really resonated with me. The cracked out feeling. Like I have problems stop turning off and then going to the bed, turning off my brain, going to bed. I'm like just still trying to get it. It's, fear of missing out. I got to finish it before tomorrow or something. And then you're not actually as productive. You think you are, but you're not. So I'm really trying to train myself. Oh, you need to recharge, and you can actually go harder in the morning or tomorrow.
Right. And I think it's kind of counterintuitive. And also you create this like positive feedback loop where you're like, oh, I need to keep going. But those hours at the end are just, you're not doing anything productive enough. All you're doing is eating into tomorrow. And that just turns into this vicious cycle, this snowball effect of like, you end 3 days is like 1 day of productivity instead of just maybe cutting a couple hours each day and getting real days in. I always used to go to bed super late, used to get up super late, and like ever since and exercise really helped me just develop into like an adult. Like seriously, for lack of a better word, just like to get up early, to go to bed, and like it has really helped my creative process and work stuff. So I would encourage anyone and everyone, if you're human, of course, to do that.
Yeah. Well, animals just do that anyway. They just are being. They're active.
Yes.
They're playful.
Right.
They run to the door when someone knocks. Like many of us just waddle to the door. Like, come on.
Right.
When in doubt, be an animal. Be a dog.
Yeah. With coffee.
Yeah. The other thing that resonated with me, and I've been definitely working on. It's very hard for me because I don't really have filters built in me.
Right.
When I talk over the years, and that's got me into a lot of trouble. But is what you said, if you just sit down and think before you act, whether it's you start in music or you ask a question, pause myself. It's like count to 5, Tony, and then it's a great practice.
Yeah, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Like, trust me, I'm a super loud and just like I'm always like barking at so it's something I've been trying to do because I'm like I haven't done that for the majority of my life. So this is like what's different, and I think we're kind of all obligated to do something a little bit different, shake things up, just for some personal growth.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just threw out personal growth. So
you did. Personal growth.
There's a song.
Isn't that funny? They have. I remember in college there was one class and it was called personal development, and back when, an Eminem song came in my head.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
Wait, just now?
Yeah. Back when. Oh no, it was a Dr. Dre song.
Oh.
Back when Cube something with instrumentals. See, that's the craziest.
Oh, that's from the Chronic 2001.
Yeah, you know what that is.
One of my favorite records of all time.
It's insanely amazing.
It's What's the Difference, I believe, between me and you. 5 bank accounts, 3 ounces, and 2 vehicles.
Yeah. What's the difference between us? We could start at the... Okay.
We can start at the...
But yeah. It's crazy. See, another thing, the brain is so fascinating how one sentence came out and it took us there, and then now I'm trying to get myself back.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the pause. Let me try the pause.
Breathe.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, right.
I did it.
And we're back.
Yeah. And now by doing that might help me out there because I'll recall this moment and I'll do more pause.
Yeah, and just because you stop, pause, and think doesn't mean you're changing what you were going to say, how you were going to say it, the volume in which you were going to say it, how incendiary it was. All you're doing is giving yourself a little bit of accountability. That's it. It's accountability. You're just going, okay. You're just not reacting. You're going, yeah, I'm going to fucking lay into this fucking guy.
Yeah.
So saying it to yourself before you actually do, I don't know. It's
cool.
It's something I never used to do. Now I'm just like, stop.
Mm-hmm. it helps
just take a
so
second.
much.
Just take
it
a
also
second.
avoids a lot of like petty arguments.
Totally.
You know, because
Could not
though
agree
I was
more.
definitely guilty of a lot of those. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good for life, relationships, politics, just friends. I mean, it's really not going to hurt you in any way. I think that's the best thing to take away from it. So,
Yeah. Can you think back in time or to something recently where you've had a creative block or things seem to be going okay, but the artist's depression kicks in? How did you deal with it when you either have a block or the artist's depression comes in, whether you did or didn't have a block?
Yeah, I think it very rarely when I start something am I just like, oh, like I know what to do and this and that. I feel like there's always a little bit of a block at the beginning of every starting of every gig, kind of. But yeah, sometimes you get in this thing where it never seems right. Usually I deal with it by just, well, two things, and they're the opposite of each other. Stepping away completely. Sometimes, it's like the going to bed early so you can get up and work more. It's like sometimes like you're frustrating yourself and you need to just step away, go for a walk or do a workout, maybe something. But sometimes like you have to just stay at it too. And I surely have given up too easily before in the past. And, I don't know. It's one of the shittiest things in the creative world is when and to go back to that word confidence, like you lose confidence in yourself and you're the only one there. It's the most brutal confidence because it's your own. You're just like, oh God, I suck.
Have you ever said this? I mean, I've heard your work and I see your excellence. I do.
Oh,
have you ever said, like, why am I in the music business? Like, I should stop. Like, I shouldn't be here. Have you ever been that dark and deep and dark? Or no?
Well, first of all, I've definitely just been in places where I'm like, lost confidence in myself and my abilities and stuff like that. I've never just been like, oh, like I should stop. I mean, I've questioned like my place in things. Okay. I think, but whenever I do that, I try to think about, like I'm not the best musician in the world. I'm not the best writer in the world. I'm not like, there's always people. I mean, you can name thousands of people that are not only better at what I do, but just like, that are just better than what I do, I should say. But so I think the way that I get through those moments is just being like, well, they're not as good at this specific thing. I'm like within itself, not like, oh, like volleyball or this or like I'm not even that good at volleyball, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not just like, oh, well, I can run faster than them. No, like sucker. There's just a lot of nuance in the different things, and yeah, I mean, I think questioning where you are in your industry or how good you are or all the things, I think that's important to give yourself some perspective. No one likes, of course there are times when I'm doing something and I'm like, I am the greatest, like, because you're getting so much joy out of it and you're just like, oh, that was brilliant, and
you could see.
Yeah, but there's also the opposite of that, and I surely have had that many times. I mean, on every gig there's a moment of just like, is this right? Is like am I like, I'm like, why can't I do this faster? Why can't I do this better? Like, comparing yourself to other people, which is impossible.
That is the hardest thing to get out of for me. And
it is. Well, and I mean, how can you blame yourself or me or others? Like, you look around and you want to be the people you respect and you want the careers they have, and it's impossible to not compare yourself. Like, how can you?
Yeah, you have to just monitor it somehow.
Yeah,
that's
well, just I think let it let it be the drive, the inspiration, the motivation to get better, and not to be them, but to kind of forge your own path. You know what I mean? Because
what else can you do? You know,
what else
can you do?
Yeah, and also, what are you going to be, like a carbon copy of that person? Then you're just like a diet version of that person. So you're not even like, you know, like, I mean, I don't know.
Very true.
You got to stay strong, man.
So it sounds like when you're in that block or that frustration mode where there seems like there's that roadblock, you kind of remind yourself about, well, look, I'm good at this. This is what just remind yourself that I'm good at that. And then maybe that helps pick you up sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, sometimes I've gotten through it by just driving through and staying at it harder. And sometimes I realize that that's not the best way to do it. And, I don't know. Sometimes I'll just like phone up my mom, be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
I was
thinking like literally
that.
Just break the mold. Just like, you know, get out of the house, go for a walk, talk to someone on the phone.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had moments where like that block is all of a sudden, you know, you're on the phone and like you're like, "Oh, great idea!" Like you
just hang up on your mom and you don't even say bye.
I'm just like, gotta go, mom. Boom, and then don't call her back.
No, that is a really good idea to just. I was thinking, you read my mind. Like, do you ever have what do they call it? Remember the that show where you can call someone to answer the
phone
question?
a friend. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, there was like
Regis Philbin.
Yeah. Regis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's that ambulance you talked about earlier.
Downtown LA living, baby.
It's okay. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that person's probably not fine. But,
yeah. Well.
Sorry,
but luckily that someone's going towards them to rescue. That's good. That's the
help is on the way.
Yeah.
So that's
help
encouraging.
Is definitely on the way. That's a reminder. You know, when you're in a block, think about someone that's doing far worse than you.
Yeah.
And go, shit, I'm so privileged at this moment. I'm like trying to be creative. I actually have the ability to try to be creative, and maybe that'll get you more creative.
Right. Or like, how about like I have the time to sit here and have this problem. You know, living in downtown LA in the arts district where I am, it's like all I have to do is walk outside the house, walk a block, and I can see a very different life than the one I'm living. That will always put things in perspective. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, get your shit together, you know, and just do better.
Yeah.
You know, that's
the
thing I always say to myself and other people, actually, sometimes, which is probably not the best thing to say to people. But do better.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to tattoo that on my ass.
Fuck yeah.
Do on one cheek, and sure enough, BETTR on the other.
Ah, that's good. Do you have any tattoos?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, if I ever had a tattoo, it would. I mean, that was the ongoing joke forever. Either one there, or one like kind of hidden near the bicep, the underside.
That rippling bicep of yours.
Yeah, it's rippling.
Yeah, I mean, I just never had the urge, or like, you know, I'm like, what would I get? And then
and then
I
it's
feel
forever.
like I would have instant regret. So I'm just like,
henna baby, henna baby.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But it's so true when people do get a tattoo and they ask, I like it. They don't stop usually.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's addictive. I think I hear. I
see. Addictive, and it costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Like I can't believe it when I hear how much that costs. I'm like, damn, that's how much I made in a year.
Right.
You know, in the low times.
Well, okay. Yeah, in the low times.
But what if we just kept talking about tattoos?
That's fine. I mean, I wish we had some to talk about.
Yeah.
But
or I'm glad we don't actually.
Probably. I mean, I'll tell you what. If I'm gonna get a tattoo, you know, I want that like brutal tribal, like hammering, like the Samoan or like the Japanese, like Yakuza. If I'm doing it, I don't want to be in a shop like drinking whiskey, like with some tattooed guy and like crazy, you know, ring, skulls, and like and like he's drawing me in this kind of comfortable thing. Like I want to be like, you know, I want to be getting the tattoo of like, because like I killed 100 people. You know what I mean? No, like more at a different time. Not now.
I gotta go. This podcast is over. I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Because
I agree.
To me, that I don't know.
It's respect and earned.
And it's and I think that's
experience,
right? And that is why people, I think, get tattoos a lot. Is they look at it and it reminds them of something, whether it's a place and time or something they got over, and that's great. Like, more power to you. For me, I haven't felt that need, but I don't know. I could go full Yakuza style too, though. I feel like I would be all or nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'm I would just go sleep.
I would just Mike Tyson, both sides.
I'd go broke, and I would just be like, oh.
You'd be living on the street with a bunch of tattoos.
Yeah.
So one of my anthropological teachers from my college, specifically in witchcraft, I studied one of those classes. Wow. It was like anthropological witchcraft study.
Huh.
Very interesting class.
Sounds like it.
He lived in the jungle, deep, I forgot what part, but some deep jungle area, out of this country. Mm-hmm. And he eventually, they tattooed him. They asked him, like, can we tattoo you? Because he became one of them, you know? And he did it as a research project to live there for his studies. It was so inspiring. That was a long time ago.
That's awesome.
And I bet you that some of that inspired my recent 9-month trips out of the country.
Right.
And that's what's cool about teachers or people that you look up to. They say one little seed, or they plant one little seed.
Yeah.
And then it maybe comes out the next week or 10 years later.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, see, that's a perfect example.
That is the example. I would do that.
If I'm hanging out in a remote place with some like tribesmen or, indigenous people in a place that whatever, and they want to tattoo me because like now I'm, become one of them. Oh, that's pretty much that's when I'm getting a tattoo.
Exactly.
And that might be the only time.
Me too.
But like that, I'm just like, oh yeah. Do it.
God, that'd be cool. I know, it's kind of inspiring. It makes me want to, when I travel again, like do it a little stronger and get a little closer to the people and
a little
see
more
what
gritty.
Happens. Yeah. And see.
I need to travel. I need to do that.
It'd be fun traveling with you. We should do that.
Let's go somewhere.
I would love to.
Point to a map.
Yeah. That's a way to do it. You spin the globe and just point, and then you have to go there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully it lands somewhere, not where we're not going to die, but that's life.
That's true. Hey, very true.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I might be repeating myself, but
okay.
But maybe it's a little. Can we go deeper? Everything's going great. Let's say music career's kicking ass. Mm-hmm. You just finished an amazing piece of music, but have you been in the point where you actually feel, what's the word? That existential thought of like, shit, I am depressed. I just finished this major network composition and everything seems good, but I feel like there's no purpose in my life. If you have, and when you have, what do you do? How long do you let it sit? And how do you get out of that to, continue with our day-to-day life? So
I've never felt that after a gig. I feel that when the gigs aren't coming in, because now I have no purpose. If I've just finished something like that, someone needs me. And that's always the hardest thing about being a freelance composer or freelance anyone, or I'm sure actor or writer, anyone in this industry where work security it's not always there. There is no work security. You know what I mean? There's few that it's If you're not signed with the studio, So like if I just finish some awesome thing for a network show and whatever, like that. I don't have. That's when I feel the best, and that's because I have momentum too, and I want to work off of that and get more. And so, like, I just can honestly say, like, those are not the times I feel that. It's before that person hired me that I felt that. So after that big thing and you're feeling great, is it a certain time frame? Like if it's like 2 or 3 weeks and you're not lining up the next job, that other mode might kick in a little. Or a month, is there a... Yeah, I think... What do you do about it? I think a few years ago, a longer amount of time between was okay. Now it's shrinking as I have more responsibilities, as I get older, and as, you have more experience and you want your career to go a certain way, you want it to go fast. I mean, no one has patience, obviously. So... Yeah, I mean, what was the question? Oh, when you're in that, what do you do to not
I don't know. How do you get back into
but
the groove?
You also
with
you were
people?
saying you were also saying just like the amount of time, and what I was saying was is like now, if I do something awesome, something I'm super proud of, and I'm being compensated for it, and it's like, you know, like a credit, and it's a good gig, and it's like the thing we work for. Yes, now there is a honeymoon period, you know.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Maybe it's like, you know, it really depends. But I don't know. You ride it for a couple of weeks, you know. And after doing the show, it was like I felt I was so high and great and everything. And then it's like, you know, if a month goes by without any prospects, now you just, you know, those things fade, and you start to say like, oh well, you know. We all have bills to pay.
Yeah.
You want to keep the lights on. Like, you want to, you know.
So what do you do when you get into that mode? Do you literally,
That's
and I ask some
interesting.
people, like, is there a special thing that you do tell?
Okay, so this is funny. So, like, well, two things. Like, if I get really desperate, I'll start grinding hard. Whereas, like, I'm emailing, I'm hitting up people I've worked for, people I've done things with, whatever, you know, just like heavy research. I'll be online looking at projects that are being greenlit. Do I know anyone on that thing? I'll just start grinding, you know, asking everyone I know, and that kind of thing. But also one thing that I found, which is really odd, and this is like some weird, I don't want to say spiritual, but it's like the universe speaks to you in this weird way. Every time I have not been as busy as I want to be, some weird gig will come up that I normally wouldn't take, whether it's free, whether it's underpaid, whether it's whatever, you know, and I'll be like, well, I can't turn it down. I've got nothing else going on, even if it's a little bit of money, or like, oh, I need more relationships. Every time that happens, a real gig happens, and I'm like, shit. Why did I take this? Now I'm trying to do this. But it's my buddy and I, who also does what I do, and a good friend of mine, we do a lot of work together. He does the same thing, and it's like this weird thing. It's like, I had to take the small gig to get the big gig.
Law of the universe.
So
momentum.
Like, right, and it's just, and it seems, you know, you're like, well, there's nothing there, but it's like, man, I can't tell you how many times that's happened. So like, between grinding or like if one of those things come up, I'm a little bit more like, is this that thing that's getting me the bigger thing a month from now? So like,
that's
now,
a great mindset.
Yeah. So that's, you know, and I'll also just cry, a lot of crying.
I love that. Hey, actually, whether you're joking or not, it's good to let out tears, whether you're a gentleman or a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking in the sense that like I don't curl into a ball and cry about not having work, but I mean, of course I cry. I mean, dude, crying, there's something cathartic and
very much.
I don't know. It doesn't even matter what you're crying about, but like stuff comes out literally, but also like there's weight. You can feel weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and you get more receptive, I think, because you become so vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, you can let things in.
Yeah.
And you can let them affect you.
And it truly is kind of a bittersweet feeling, because if you're crying, you're, you know, I mean, you can cry happy tears and all that, but I just mean it feels both awful and good at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty unique thing.
Tell you the truth, this sounds kind of weird, but I have a little, I can't say addiction, but I enjoy crying. Yeah. Like if I'm really upset and sad about something, like I don't know, I developed it kind of maybe 5 years ago.
That's interesting.
More like where when I get in it, I start to like be self-aware about it. Right. And then I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I can feel all this shit. Yeah. And then that makes me get a little excited, and I like,
because you feel alive.
And then
right?
And if you want to go, when you go, if you actually go one step further, find a mirror and look in the mirror while you're crying. And I'm getting like chills, but then like, you know, I do, like I'll start to smile because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And then I start looking at myself crying and smiling, and then I go into like, oh, I want to make a new film with this like character. But
yeah, that's what you do before you get into the creative process, right? It's like, hey, sometimes it's funny. No, but it is a weird thing. But and
why don't dogs? I mean, they whine sometimes. Like, why don't you don't see animals as they don't show it like we do usually? I know some can and do,
Right.
but that's interesting.
Yeah, well, that could be like biology or just
They cry in their other ways for sure.
Yeah, like,
and why the fuck do the tears come out? I don't get that. I really don't understand. What's the purpose? I mean, I understand when you're irritated in your eyes, you water it out to get out the thing.
Yeah, but like, what about crying makes it actual? Like the tear ducts.
Why can't we cry and just like? Why can't we get a cryectomy? So when you're crying, no tears come out.
Well,
I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying, what's up with that?
Nor do I think that's possible. But I mean, you can just like clog your tear ducts, but that can't be good for you. And it would definitely hurt your acting career.
Yes, for sure.
The guy can't cry.
You got a cryectomy.
You don't understand, dude. I can't cry. Like, I'm crying on the inside, but...
Do you ever see that Seinfeld episode?
Which
where
one?
George's mom, she's like, I can't cry, George. I got this facelift or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then his George is like, Mom, don't cry. You got the whole episode?
Yes.
It's a great episode.
So you can always relate pretty much everything to a Seinfeld moment. It's just...
That's great.
That good.
It is.
That good.
Okay. Let us go into my notes here. I have many extra stuff. Okay. If I was going to shadow you, or someone shadow you for one day while composing for a film or TV show, what would you have me pay special attention to?
Good question. There is one process that I think is super important that a lot of people don't think about when they think about scoring film or TV, and that is like how you approach a scene before you actually start working on it. So like, if I'm writing a scene, you're sitting there, you're probably thinking, you're going to see a lot of music being made. But the first thing and the most important thing, and that I would encourage people who haven't done a lot of this to pay attention to, is the act of like watching the scene down. You watch a scene down several times. You put in markers and establish a tempo and a thing. You're not even touching anything. You're just thinking. Again, you're thinking and you're watching, and you're building what we call like a tempo map or like a template for how you're going to approach the scene. Because you can't just jump in and start writing. Because if it's a comedy, you need holes for lines to land, and you need these things to happen, and it all has to go. And you're like, oh, we're going to go across the cut here, and it goes to black here, and so like the preparation you do before you actually touch a key or an instrument at all if someone was shadowing me, I would be like, get in here, like watch this thing we're about to do here is going to give us the tools to effectively score this scene. So like that. And that's specifically a lot of TV. Some films, like you watch the film down and like, a lot of the big studio guys now just do these long several minute suites that they just write and then are cut up and done to picture. So they're not always writing to picture. So like there's different it depends on the medium and just what you're working on. But being that I do a lot of TV or like commercial work, stuff like that, it's a lot. You really need to hit cues, hit moments, and those things need to be very clear. You can't just wing it.
You put like a line and then kind of up and downs.
Yeah,
and
well,
marks.
just like establishing the tempo just right away. Like if there's a lot of dialogue, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like there's so much more that goes into it than just like, this is a cool piece of music. I mean, I'll remember one of the first things I ever did when I was working for that guy. Right when I started, I was working on some like ABC Family show, and I wrote this thing for a scene, and I was like, check this out. And he's like, oh, great piece of music. Doesn't work for the scene. And I was just like, so just internally devastated, upset, all these emotions. I'm like, what? And like it, because I was thinking about the music, not the scene. And that is not what I do. If I just made music, I wouldn't be doing it to picture. And music to picture, the picture is more important than the music. So, marrying those things together is really like where the art comes in. And doing your prep work before with the scene, setting it up with markers and where you're going to approach things you really want to accent, moments that are important before you touch a note. That is, to me, a big, important part of the process that most people don't realize.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
I took maybe 1 or 2 film scoring classes in my music times, and we did something like that, like a chart, It was really cool. And I still have one saved, and every now and then I look at it. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's fun. And it helped me then make the piece,
Right.
Very cool.
Exactly.
I love that. It's like a map. Don't go on a road trip without a map unless you're okay with really getting lost,
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun to get lost.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more, but depends on
the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
We mentioned that was kind of a mistake that you made technically, or not a mistake, but you didn't know. Is there any big mistakes that wasted time like that, or that you'd like to share, or actually gave you new opportunities? You're like, whoa, I can't let me make that mistake, but it led me here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, just like in making music, mistakes tend to often become little miracles. So that happens all the time where you're just like, you mess up something and you stumble onto something else. But I mean, like, yeah, like by not preparing, and this is just specific to like the film and TV scoring, by not putting the preparation in, I've found myself wandering and doing things without going through the proper order of operations before. And what happens is I find myself 2 minutes into an action scene and I realize like, oh, like I really am doing this at the wrong tempo and I've already done all this work. And so like stuff like that happens, you're just wasting time. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, of course I've done it. I try to learn from those mistakes and do it less. But,
yeah,
I mean, It's never perfect, right?
Yeah. We kind of mentioned this, but not in the way I'm going to ask it. How do you zoom out of all of this when you get overwhelmed? Like too much music stuff, too much overwhelming things in your life. How do you zoom out and like look back and get a grip again?
I just do other things. I mean, I think it's really odd because a lot of times, when you work in music, people just assume like, oh, he's a composer, or you must be a huge fan of music, or like, what do you listen to? What's your favorite band? And I'm often, and of course I listen to music and I love music. It's my life. But when you're constantly, and for me, when I'm constantly but like, I don't want to hear music.
Because you start analyzing it and then you won't really feel it.
And sometimes you need that because you need a creative boost and you're just like, I need to go listen to Radiohead's Kid A again. It always inspires me, or something like that. But like, I just find stepping away from it helps me, because for me, really, like when I'm in the studio, I'm in the studio. When I'm out of it, I'm out of it. And a lot of people, will be like, oh, like let's casually make a track, or just like whatever in the free time, and just, I don't know, over the past few years it's been hard for me to want to do that because it's either I'm working or
what are we making it for?
And I mean, I think that's bad. That's like that's a casualty of what I've been doing is like, I don't want to be in the studio working and making music when I'm not on the job, and now it feels like a job, right?
Yep.
So like, of course I still do it, but I just mean that's kind of been a bummer. I used to just make more music, and but I think that's a natural progression.
Yeah, a natural progression.
I think that's what happens, and I found other things that I like doing that I really didn't used to do before. Like I love going to the beach now, you know what I mean? Like, and like I love working out and all these things that I didn't do before because I was just like sedentary, sitting in there, smoking a bunch of weed and just, which I don't do anymore. But you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I've just found other things. Like music is not 100% my life anymore. And it's made me appreciate it for what it is even more, and also like let me appreciate life a little more too.
It's probably allowed you to focus even more when music is your life. Like, let's say these next 3 weeks, this project, music is your life. You probably get more done in those 3 weeks than you would if if it was the other way like it used to be.
Yeah.
There's a laser
there's a laser focus, you're just and that's don't get me wrong, we all work on things that we're not like super stoked to work on. You know what I mean? We're like, we don't all get to just like score Spielberg movies, like that's just not the reality. So like, but I've always found joy in what I'm doing on any project, even if the project I'm not super happy. You have to know what it is, work within the confines of that gig.
Yes.
And then you make the best of it. So I'm usually good about that. So I don't know if that helps.
That definitely.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see someone like you say those things, because I for sure, with filmmaking, I've done a lot of like things just for fun. Oh, let's just do that. Let's just shoot that. But definitely over the years, it's like, that's gonna require this and that and that, because if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be a gig for me, even if it's unpaid. So if the juice isn't worth the squeeze, in my head, I can't really do that.
Right.
But what I've allowed myself to do a little bit, I have a friend that he does like some YouTube stuff, and I'll like kind of be more of the assistant, and I'll throw a little bit of my director like mindset if he wants it. But then I'm relieved, because after we shoot a little something just for fun, we're gonna hang out anyway.
Right.
So an hour and a half, he brings his camera, he just does some things, maybe I act in it a little, then he takes it home and he does the editing, and then he'll send me a draft sometimes and I'll check it out. It takes 5 minutes for me to like say, hey, maybe try this, and that allowed me to kind of be able to feel comfortable doing that,
right,
and not dive in too deep for an unpaid gig, a thing that we're not submitting somewhere to push the career.
Well, and I mean, like, it just goes back to that balance. Like, sometimes I'm like, I should just be doing more things for fun.
I know.
And, and I think it's super cliche to be like, oh, people get jaded. They do. Like, that's a real thing. People get, creative fatigue. People get... And I'm still relatively young in this business, and I'm super hungry and eager to work. So I'm not there. But there are definitely times where I'm just like, I don't want to be creative, and that sucks, but that's like, if I wanted, if I guess I could have been a lawyer or something, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the nature of the business.
Yeah. And if we know we will have those sometimes, it's okay though. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it can only be really good if it sucks at some point, and
yes, yeah,
the great balance. So it's
What are some of your favorite resources? Maybe you can share where, let's say you were as you professionalized, if that's a word. I don't think it is.
Huh. We'll go with it. Okay. Let's go with it.
That you learned from, whether it's your professional or personal growth, websites, books, or people.
Yeah. So of course, working closely with someone a composer who already had an established career, and kind of coming up as an assistant and kind of writer, and right there was like learning on the job level. Like I said, music school, they teach you all these things, but what they don't teach you are the nuances of the job, the people who to pick battles with, the things, these people, certain people you don't say certain things to, just the process of everything, all of the kind of, and to run the business, you're basically running a business that is yourself. And that is a difficult thing to do. And it's really great when you can fail and not have it ruin your career, because you're working for someone else. So you fail, the worst that can happen is they fire you. But it really lands on him, not me. And that was instrumental in me learning, being able to fail without it killing me. So like, I would, that's super important. Like finding a mentor, finding someone who, but then also, friends and people that do what you do, that are at different levels in their careers and this and that, and just, and kind of bitching and complaining to each other and learning about things, you know. I've got friends that I do work with and that I talk to on a regular basis that we just talk about work and you know, you learn an insane amount about all of it. Just so, I mean, yeah. And then resources besides actual people and people, you know, like a mentor and friends. I mean, I don't know. Watching things that you like and respect too. I mean, you know, if you're a film composer, who do you love? Watch that movie. Watch how they do it. Look at the scores, you know.
Any specifics that you would share that
you
you
know,
really
you know, of course, like you know, John Williams and Hans Zimmer, like the, you know, big ones. Danny Elfman. I used to love Danny Elfman. I used to love his stuff. And so like, and now it's more of just like, you know, I don't know, weird and interesting ways to score things. You know, Cliff Martinez. I really like Cliff Martinez.
not sure.
He used to be like the drummer in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like the original drummer.
Really?
And he scored like Traffic and Drive, the movie Drive. Anyway, he just does a lot of different cool stuff. So like, I don't know, listening to scores and watching, you know, that's just a great resource in itself. Because if you are coming from the headspace that you know how to score, you know the decisions they made just by watching it. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I see what he's doing there. Or I see how he's playing this, or I see, you know. So that's, and you know what's really great too is, you know, obviously YouTube. We have everything. So like, if you want to see inside of a recording session of someone scoring a film that's going to come out, chances are it's up there. Someone's recording it. So, you know, that YouTube, I mean, let's be real. It's like the resource
YouTube
for everyone for anything. You can
amazing.
fucking learn how to just build a house from scratch on YouTube. You know?
So true.
And you could. Like, it might take you a year.
Yeah.
And, you know, it may fall down, but you will be building a house.
Yes, I love that. I know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and YouTube comments can get out of hand very quickly. So
Yes.
just, I mean,
Yes.
like, oh my God.
It's actually fun if you want some passing time,
Dude.
to read the view.
And I don't even know if I should
comments.
say this. You may have to cut this out. We'll see. Because I don't even know if I want other people to hear this. But I had this great kind of hilarious idea for a show called No Comment. And all of the dialogue is derived from YouTube comments, like conversations back and forth, kind of done out of context with actors kind of mouthing them.
That's funny.
And because some of it's gold. It's gold.
It's just unlimited source,
and it
resources.
always just goes racial, political, religious.
Yeah,
like no matter what, it'll be a video about like how to plant a flower, and all of a sudden like George Bush is responsible for 9/11.
Yeah.
Just no, like, and you're like, how?
They're like, the flower isn't as beautiful as that, and the guy's like, hey, be cool. He just wanted to show about the flower. It's like, fuck you. You suck and your country sucked. Like, They get crazy.
Yeah.
It's a weird way of communicating. They allow themselves to go beyond what's respectful that you wouldn't do on the street ever.
Well, guess what? That's talk about creative expression. Like, the internet is a whole new form of it. And I don't know, man. I'm bittersweet on all of it.
Me too.
I think it's great, and it's fucking scary. You know, so that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
You could do a show just on this, on that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, now
Yeah.
I wanted to transition towards the end of this interview.
Okay.
Can we go 100 years into the future for a moment?
Okay.
A young artist, he's walking home. He takes a shortcut through a graveyard, and he notices a tombstone. It's a beautiful tombstone.
I know where this is going.
It says Jake Staley. What does it say on your tombstone? Take your time.
Do you want me to be literal?
Well, what would you want?
There
to
won't
said?
there won't be one.
Okay, but if there was.
Okay. Well, see, that's, you know, first and foremost, I would like to be cremated.
Yeah. Interesting.
Just going to throw that out there. But I realize now you're looking for a deeper meaning here.
Yes.
What would it say? You know, That is a really good question. Man, really? You're just going to throw that one at me? There's no way you can answer this question without sounding like a complete and utter like prick. There's so much in that question. Like, what do I think about my life? What do I think about the future? What do I think about life in general? It's so like broad and specific at the same time. It's just so loaded because like, you know, you could say, I don't care because I'm going to be dead. I could say, you know, like, oh, like, you know, live well, some generic thing. I think ultimately, I hope it says, I hope you have as good of a life as I had. That's what I would go with.
That's a good one.
Because, like, and it seems stupid and maybe a little cheesy, but I have no idea what the next 100 years is going to be like. And I don't really think there's anything I could say that someone would be like, what can you say? Like 100, you know what I mean? Like there's no, so like, you know, like good luck, you know, like really, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, it's like, I know what you're going through. If you're a human being, you're looking at this and you can read like, I know it ain't easy. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like, good luck. Just,
I like that. I was just thinking about, I think I've had mine written down somewhere. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I just thought of like a new one. I could have two.
You can have four. You're dead.
Live for today, because you'll be here one day.
Ooh.
Something like that. You'll be here just like me one day.
Oh,
Live today.
I like
Tomorrow
that.
You might be here.
Well, yeah, and it will.
It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. No, that's even better.
It is 100% guaranteed you will be here someday.
Yes.
It's just
live today because it's 100% guaranteed that you will live here today.
You're gonna fucking die. Yeah.
That is.
Although 100 years from now, right? I mean, like right now, death and taxes, but who knows? It might just be taxes in the future.
It will always be taxes for sure. We can
guarantee that's the
guaranteed.
Only guarantee we have in life is that someone will want to take our money. Mm-hmm. And whatever, you know, we got to have roads and shit.
Yeah, I mean, when it goes to the proper places, I'm all for it.
That's another. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I like that, and I think that's, you know, that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, and that's too often do we look too far ahead, maybe, instead of living in the moment, or just you know. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Good luck, bro.
Good luck.
Good luck. I wish you the best. Be nice to people, you know? Yeah. Work hard, play hard. Yeah. I don't know, all those things.
Now it is the time. Well, I want to thank you for being on this podcast. And as my thank you, I wanted you to let people know where they can see your work, see your socials, find you out there.
Oh, well, funny enough, my website's under construction, so there you have it. But I do have a commercial reel, like TV commercial reel right now at my website. It's www.jakestaley.com. It's just my commercial reel, though. It's not like my other film and TV work. Yeah, you can see me on Instagram at _Don Blake. Nickname Don Blake. My brothers called me Don Blake since I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be hearing my work on season 2 of CW's Valor if it comes back. So cross your fingers. We should know in a couple weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh.
We'll
wait.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I have now I want to just give you the opportunity to give last words, if you have any, for listeners who are trying to get thriving in the entertainment industry, and maybe one step that they can do today.
You know, I think goals, as generic as it sounds, goals are important. They've always helped me. And I think establishing a goal, if it's to get this kind of gig, to get one of these, or to do that, to do this, even if it's not even, whatever, it could have to do with anything. I think establishing and thinking about what you want to achieve is as important as like what you do to try to achieve it. So, I mean, that's just helped me. So, I would say, figure out what you want first. Whatever, that's hard. Not everyone knows what they want, but get a goal, go after it, but and listen and learn. Find the people you respect, find the people who you want to be, and listen to what they have to say. There's no one recipe for success, but when you see people that have had it, it's usually not a coincidence. I mean, it's there for a reason. So I don't know. I'm just constantly trying to learn from people, and it has definitely helped me. And I've had some success, but I'm not even close to where I want to be. And so like, it's patience, man. Patience. Work hard, but relax. Which doesn't make sense, but
yes,
you know what I mean.
Long game.
Yeah. And it doesn't come overnight or at all. No. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. All right. Well, have a wonderful day.
It is a gorgeous day outside. I might go outside.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Goodbye.
All right, Tony. Thanks, buddy.
Show's over. What'd you guys think? I would love to hear your feedback, because leaving reviews on iTunes and Stitcher really supports this podcast and helps others find the show, which perhaps gives them that spark they need to get on or stay on the thriving path that can so easily be missed. Thank you for taking your time, and hopefully you got inspired to take action in whatever part of the entertainment industry you're involved in or pushing to get involved in. It is a tough business. It's a tough business, and it is tough to find security. But I read something this week that really stuck with me, and here it goes. The only true security in life comes from knowing that every single day you are improving yourself in some way. That is something to reflect on, isn't it? Yeah, isn't it? Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Thank you for listening to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. For detailed sources and show notes for this episode, visit www.unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Until next time, get up, get going, and get creative.